What's good, Josh? Your boy Earl Da Pearl. Hey, listen, Andrew Berry might have a tough decision to make. We'll talk about it next on the Ultimate 216 show. What's going on, man? I missed y'all last week. Had a lot going on in a personal life. So the executive producer told me, you know what? Don't be a superhero. Take some time to yourself. Missed y'all so much. I'm gonna bless y'all with two episodes this week. This episode today. Then I got a very special interview coming for you on Sunday with current Atlanta Dream assistant coach and Cleveland legend, the Miss Barbara Turner. So make sure you be on the lookout for that. I hope you all enjoyed the flagship show today. Make sure you smash the like button, ring the bell so you can stay in the know for everything that's going on with all of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show spinoff shows, and of course our flagship show. So, a couple things I wanted to get into. Not gonna waste too much time getting into it. The Cleveland Browns and Andrew Berry, they might have to make some tough decisions in the very, very near future. Of course, we all know by now Amari Cooper has missed all of the mandatory mini cap for the Cleveland Browns. He will be sanctioned with fines because, of course, you should be there if you don't have an excuse, and he was not excused to miss mini cap. So we all know Amari Cooper wants a new contract, and it got me to thinking about a couple things. One, you know, what would a new contract actually look like for Amari Cooper? And two, if Andrew Berry should really do it. Now, I know you're probably looking at me like, what the hell are you talking about? That's Amari Cooper. Of course, you should really do it. But the fact of the matter is, when you look at Amari Cooper's age, it doesn't match up with the analytics. And I'm the same person that said when you look at contract extensions, age shouldn't be a factor. Now, personally, me, I think Amari should get a new deal. And I'm going to propose to you all of what I think a contract extension for Amari Cooper look like. But I think before Andrew Berry goes to Amari Cooper for any type of contract extension, I think he needs to look at the big picture and the grand scheme of this entire situation, right? So Justin Jefferson just kind of set the NFL world on fire, becoming the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. I think he's earning somewhere, according to SB Nation, he's earning like 35 million a year annually. So he's the top paid non-quarterback in the entire league. And it really got me to thinking about our situation here in Cleveland. You know, you have some guys that if they perform well this year, you're going to have to hand out some money to. And I understand Amari Cooper has been great over his 2 seasons here with the Cleveland Browns. But should Amari really be at the top of your extension list? And my answer is no. I think the person that needs to be at the very, very top of any talks about a contract extension is Myles Garrett. And I think the longer that Andrew Berry waits to get a new contract done for Myles Garrett, I think the more and more it's going to cost him. There is no world where Myles Garrett should not be one of the top two or three players that's a non-quarterback paid in the NFL annually. Myles Garrett is coming off winning the Defensive Player of the Year award. Myles Garrett is a primetime premier player in this league, and he plays a primetime premier position, right? And so if you take all of that into account, you know, the importance of what he means to the Cleveland Browns organization, you know, his investments into the city of Cleveland. Hell, he's part owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers. He owns a small portion of the Cleveland Cavaliers now. And I think that if you talk about paying it forward to any player, Myles Garrett has to be at the top of that list when you consider contribution, when you consider age, when you consider, you know, the length of his current deal, when you consider the landscape of the NFL right now as we speak. So I did some research, and again, according to SBNation.com, Myles Garrett is tied for the 17th highest non-quarterback paid player in the NFL. And according to overthecap.com, he will count for 20.1 million against the salary cap this upcoming season. I think that Myles Garrett, when it's all said and done, and he finally gets a contract extension because he will get another big deal before his career is over with. I think you're going to be talking about something where Myles Garrett is going to earn over $40 million a year annually. And I know that's a big ass number, but if you really think about it, we are probably about another free agency away from seeing a guy that's a pass rusher or a wide receiver eclipse that $40 million annual a year mark. That's just the reality of the situation. And I don't think there's a world to where you can continue to sit back and let Myles Garrett play on his current contract, knowing that it's going to cost you more money down the line. You also have to consider who Myles Garrett is represented by. Myles Garrett is a clutch guy. And we know how Rich Paul, we know how those people move. They're paying attention to things like this, and they're going to always put their clients in a situation to where they can make the most money or they can maximize at said time. Myles Garrett is 29 years old, right? 29 years old, and his current deal is set to expire in 2026. So you got this season, 2025, 2026. You got 3 seasons currently. You got 3 more seasons on this current deal. So I ask you, how long do Andrew Berry go before he hands Myles Garrett a new deal? I think he should be the top priority. And then when you start thinking about other guys on this team, you know, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is going to be coming up for a contract extension soon. That's a guy that you want to lock up long term because he's the best player in a position group that's considered by most to be the weakest, right? Then you have the Jed Wills factor. And I know a lot of people like, well, what the hell, Jed Wills? But if we keeping it real with ourselves and real with each other, I do believe that Jed Wills was playing some of the best football of his career those final 3 or 4 games before he got hurt. I think he was starting to turn the corner. I think we were starting to see a much better player. And he's a guy that wants to get paid. And I think this year he's going to be out to prove that, you know what, I deserve a contract extension too. Now, Myles Garrett's 29 years old, the same age as Amari Cooper. And happy early birthday to Amari Cooper because I believe he turns 30 either this on the 17th, so this upcoming week. But Myles Garrett is a much, much more dominant player at his position than Amari Cooper is at his position. And so even though the analytics might say, well, you don't pay a player that's approaching 30 that's paying that position that amount of money, I don't see no signs of Myles Garrett slowing down. And I think that now that the Defensive Player of the Year award is secured, I think that that monkey, so to speak, is off his back. And now he's out here chasing the Super Bowl. He already talked to the media about how important it is for him to chase down a ring for the city of Cleveland. And I think that, you know, you can see a guy that with all the accolades now out the way, that might be more relaxed out there. And I'm pretty sure he's going to make some adjustments to keep the sack production at least up throughout the course of the entire season. And so he has to be priority number 1. And then I will look at Jock being priority number 2. Now I'm wondering, okay, who becomes next? Is it Jed Wills or is it Amari Cooper? Because maybe Andrew Berry was telling us something and we wasn't paying attention to it, right? Maybe when he handed Jerry Jeudy that contract extension right then and there, maybe he was maybe the writing was on the wall. And a lot of people won't say it, but I will. In my opinion, I think that pissed Amari Cooper off, and rightfully so. I mean, he had a career high in receiving yards this past season playing with a plethora of quarterbacks at 1,250. He had a career high in touchdowns the year prior to that with 10. He's been one of the most productive receivers in the AFC North in his 2 years that he's been here. He has been the best and the most productive Cleveland Browns receiver in Cleveland Browns history. That's not saying much when it comes to Cleveland Browns history, when it comes to the wide receiver position, but that's where he's been, and that's where he's at. And so before you go along and offering Amari Cooper a contract extension that's going to cost you a lot of money, because again, back to over the cap, Amari accounts for $23.7 million against the cap in 2024 at 30 years old. Here's the tough situation that Andrew Berry finds himself in, though, when it comes to Amari. The infatuation with Jerry Jeudy is the reason why he made the trade. Dude wanted Jerry Jeudy from the jump. He finally found a way to get his hands on him, and he paid him. Now, when it's all said and done, when you look at the new contracts that's been handed out to the wide receivers, I think Jerry Judy falls somewhere between 20th and 25th in annual salary per his contract. That's really not bad. That's not a bad bargain considering you can argue Jerry Judy is somewhere, at least when it comes to production over the course of his career, between what 20 and 25 best receivers in the league. So he's really getting paid around where he's at. Now, if he outperforms that contract, then Andrew Berry yet again looks like a genius, right? So you got that factor right there. Okay. How much money do you want to tie up into your receiving core? We seen that with Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry. It didn't work out so well. Of course, you got the contract of Deshaun Watson, right? You have to consider also, and David Njoku comes out here and have another year like he had last year, then he might come back to the table looking for a new deal as well. All these things has to be considered before I go and say, okay, I give Amari Cooper a new deal. And it all depends on what he's asking for. Now, if the Browns was able to sign Amari Cooper to a contract extension at the same time that this episode is being aired, hey, I'm all for it. Because the tough situation is you traded for Jerry Judy. I can only assume with the mindset of Amari Cooper being his tutor or his teacher, to teach him how to be a pro before his time with the Cleveland Browns was over. And so how many seasons would that take? And coming up in the next segment, I'm gonna tell you what I think a contract extension should look for, uh, or look like for Amari Cooper. And I really want to know your thoughts about that as well, because like I said, I think Amari Cooper is slept on. I think Amari Cooper doesn't get the just or the credit that he deserves. But at the same time, man, you can't pay everybody. And you got some guys that play premier positions as well. That's a little younger than Amari Cooper, outside of Myles Garrett, that's the same age as him. That's kind of come up on looking for new deals as well. You got to ask yourself, where do you prioritize that money at? Right? It's something to think about. When we come back from this break, I'm gonna tell you what I think a contract extension for Amari Cooper will look like, and then we're gonna get up out of here for today. But of course, this episode of the Ultimate 216 Show is brought to you by FanDuel. It is winner take all time in the NBA and the NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. That's right. So right now, you can get new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning bet of $5. That's $150 to bet on the spread, money line, player props, and more. All you got to do is visit fanduel.com/UCSS and make every playoff shot count. Shout out to FanDuel. Shout out to Tyvis, by the way, who hit like 3 tickets on FanDuel yesterday. I see you, bro. Let me get a dollar. Let me get a dollar. Or you can give it to Amari Cooper. Here's what I think a proposed contract extension for Amari looks like, right? I said all that in that first segment to arrive here. I think a fair compensation for Amari Cooper is a 2-year, $52 million contract extension. That will pay Amari Cooper $26 million annually for the 2025 and 2026 campaign. At the end of that contract, Amari Cooper will be 32 years old. You hope by that time that Jerry Judy has developed into the wide receiver that you traded for, as far as potential wise. You hope by that time that Cedric Tillman has developed into the wide receiver that you believe he can be, at the same time that you drafted him. And then you just got to figure out the rest. Now, if Amari Cooper was to turn down that contract and he's looking for more than $26 million a year annually, then I'm sorry. I might have to make a tough decision and try to see if I can move Amari Cooper and get a couple more veterans in here to play with this group and then try to figure it out next offseason. And I know that sounds a little extreme, but if you really think about it, right, I think that when Tennessee handed Calvin Ridley at 29 years old, the contract that they handed him, and I'm going to go look that up real quick. But when they handed him that contract, I think a lot of teams looked at his contract and said, okay, that doesn't make sense when you look at the production. And I'm gonna get those numbers for you right now because I'm curious, just so I can be right here. So his contract with the Tennessee Titans is going to pay him 10 million this year. He's going to make 28 million annually in 2025, 26.7 and 2026. At 33, when his contract is said to be over with, Calvin Ridley will be making 27.2 million. That will be his cap number in 2027. When you give a guy like that type of deal, who has not been nearly as productive as Amari Cooper, that backed the Cleveland Browns into a corner. Amari and his people looked at this like, okay, wait a minute. If he getting that type of money, I know I'm better than him. But at the same time and in the same breath, if you got a jock that's 24, 25 years old that's coming up on a new deal, if Jed Wills comes out here and balls out, the Browns are going to pay him, right? Left tackle, you got to protect your investment. You got to protect your quarterback. He's still early mid-20s. You're going to extend Jed Wills if he comes out here and plays well, right? And again, we talked about it last segment. The top of that pecking order is Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is the absolute most important, best player on this football team. And there is no way in the world that Myles Garrett should be the 17th ranked non-quarterback that's being paid right now in the NFL. Eventually, you're gonna have to take care of that business. And like I told you before, Myles is gonna cost you about $40 million annually. And so when you offer this contract to Amari Cooper, that is tying up a lot of money into your wide receiver room. But at the same time, Amari Cooper has earned, in my opinion, that extension. But anything more than 2 years, $52 million, I might have to consider other options. I might have to see if I can trade him to a team of his choosing, get some draft capital back, and then go sign me 2 veterans. A guy like Hunter Renfrow is still out there who's familiar with Deshaun Watson. A guy like Michael Thomas, who has not had success over the last 3 or 4 seasons, but at one time was considered one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm going to be honest, because eventually, even if this move was to piss Deshaun Watson off, I got to go to Deshaun Watson eventually and say, you know what, man? You making 64 million. We can't pay everybody. We have to continue to set ourselves up for long-term success. We understand that we got other guys that's going to be coming up with contract extensions down the pike. If we got to move on from Amari, you still got enough out here that you can work with. You still got David Njoku, who's a pass catching tight end, who had the best season of his career last year. You traded for it and you paid Jerry Jeudy to be him. And so you just got to hope that he develops to be him. You got to hope that you get return on investment from Elijah Moore and Cedric Tillman develops into what you think he is. If y'all ain't figured it out by now, man, I'm a huge fan of Mike Woods. It is something about this kid that's really like interesting. It's something about this kid that I think is there. And if he can stay healthy, I think he's going to have an opportunity to show it this year. So to me, you're in a situation now with the Amari Cooper contract to where, and you better hope all these other swings that you took at this wide receiver position pans out. Because if there's one knock on what Andrew Berry has done, he hasn't done well drafting wide receivers. We've had some 3rd round picks that didn't pan out. We've had some later round picks that didn't pan out either. The best thing he did was go trade for Amari Cooper. And that situation right now is up in the air. And I respect Amari Cooper for trying to get his bread. He understands that this might be the last contract extension or will be the last contract extension of his career. So you want to set yourself up to make as much money as you possibly can. I get it. But in the same breath, again, I'm offering Amari 2 years, $52 million. That'll pay him $26 million in 2025, $26 million in 2027. You throw that on top of what he's getting right now, what they got you about 75, 76 million over the next 3 years. I think that's fair compensation for him. Now, if him and his agent is out here looking for more than that, again, I might have to move on from Amari Cooper because I can't sit up here and say that Amari Cooper is a higher priority for as good as he is and for as good as he has been. He's not a higher priority than Myles Garrett. He's not a higher priority on the extension list than Jock. And if Jed Wills goes out here and he outperforms his contract, I don't think he's a higher priority than him. If David Njoku goes out here and outperforms his contract again, I don't think Amari Cooper is a higher priority than him as well. These are the tough decisions that the Cleveland Browns are going to be faced with in the near future. Amari Cooper, guys like Wyatt Teller in the near future. There's going to be some guys that's popular names that's been here in Cleveland, that's been productive here in Cleveland, that you're going to have to make some tough choices on. And let's not forget, Nick Chubb took the contract extension he took because he believes in his heart of hearts that he can reach those incentives, I'm sorry, and make the full term of that agreement. So if Nick Chubb somehow goes out here and he's healthy and he balls his ass off, then that's somebody else that you got to take care of as well. It's going to be some tough decisions that's going to have to be made by Andrew Berry in the near future. But you know what? I trust the man more often than not to make the right choice to put the Cleveland Browns in position to have long-term success. Y'all let me know what y'all think about that in the comments, man. Is the 2 years, $52 million extension for Amari Cooper fair? Is that enough? And should Amari Cooper be higher on the priority list than I have him currently? At the end of the day, you better make sure that you take care of Myles Garrett before you start talking about contract extensions to anybody else. That's your bread and butter. That's just the reality of it. And again, if Justin Jefferson is looking at 35 million, you got guys like CeeDee Lamb, you got guys like Jamar Chase that's looking to get paid, that's finna probably get about 37, 38. You better believe Myles Garrett is gonna get about 40 million when it's all said and done. It's your boy Earl Da Pearl, man. I love y'all. Don't forget, Sunday, Father's Day, I got something special for y'all. Current Atlanta Dream, WNBA Atlanta Dream assistant head coach and Cleveland legend. She also won a championship with UConn and Gino. Barbara Turner, man, will join me on the Ultimate 216 show. I hope y'all are looking forward to that. I love you. Until next time, remember, be great, spread love. Being great, it comes with a price. Spreading love, that thing is priceless. I'm out.